Introduction. Welcome to Logic Academy. Welcome to Logic Academy. This is not a book of opinions. It is not a book of politics or ideology or debate. It is a book of structure, the underlying rules that thinking itself depends on. Every discipline, from mathematics to science to philosophy to everyday problem solving, rests on logic. If you strip away the labels, the slogans, and the noise, what remains is pattern. Logic is how we recognize those patterns, test them, and use them to make decisions that work in the real world. Think of this book as your first course in mental architecture. Just as you would not build a bridge without understanding weight and balance, you should not build an argument or a decision without understanding the rules that make thought reliable. Here you will learn the core laws of logic: identity, non-contradiction, the excluded middle, causality, consistency, and more. Each lesson will be simple, direct, and reinforced with drills, exercises that train your mind the way math problems train a student or scales train a musician. The goal is not to win arguments. The goal is clarity. When you understand logic, you are less likely to be fooled, misled, or trapped by words that sound persuasive but do not hold up under structure. Logic is the firewall that protects your thinking. This course begins with the most basic rules, rules so fundamental that you already use them every day, even if you do not name them. A thing is itself. Two opposites cannot both be true. Every effect has a cause. You know these intuitively, but here you will learn to see them, name them, and use them with precision. The structure of the book is simple. Each chapter introduces one law or principle. You will see clear explanations and everyday examples. You will practice drills that train recognition and application. By the time you finish, you will have a set of tools that can be applied to science, to learning, to daily decisions, and to any subject that demands clarity. Logic is not abstract. It is practical. It sharpens how you read, how you listen, how you decide, and how you teach others. So, welcome to the first course. Logic Academy is now in session. Continue. Chapter 1. The Law of Identity. The first law of logic is simple. A is A. A thing is what it is. It sounds almost too obvious, but this is the foundation of all clear thinking. If a thing is not itself, then no reasoning about it can hold. What it means. When we say A is A, we mean that each thing has a specific nature. A circle is a circle. A tree is a tree. Your left shoe is not your right shoe. This law tells us that reality has definition. If we blur that definition, we lose clarity. Logic collapses when we pretend something can be two things at once, or when we use one word to mean two different things. Why it matters. The law of identity is violated every time language is stretched beyond its meaning. When a word is rebranded to hide what it really points to. When a person is described in ways that contradict their actions. When a system uses a label that conceals its real function. If you don't hold onto identity, you can be tricked into believing two opposite things about the same subject. Example: if someone says, "This isn't a tax, it's a contribution," the question must be asked: does money still leave your pocket without choice? If yes, then the identity is still tax, no matter what it's renamed. Everyday examples. Geometry. A triangle is a shape with three sides. If it has four, it is not a triangle. Shopping. If you buy an apple, you expect an apple, not an orange with apple written on it. Promises. If someone says, "I will meet you at 3 p.m., the identity of the promise is fixed. 4 p.m. is not 3 p.m. Common violations. 1. Rebranding, renaming a thing to disguise its nature. 2. Equivocation, using one word with multiple meanings to confuse. 3. Blurred categories, pretending two different things are the same. How to apply it. When you encounter a statement, ask, what is this thing's definition? Is it being described consistently? Is someone trying to rename it to change perception without changing reality? If the answers are unclear, stop. Clarify identity before continuing. Drills. One simple spotting. A car is on a car, not a truck. A square is on a four-sided shape with equal sides, not a circle. Two language test. If someone calls a fine a contribution, what is its true identity? Three, real life. Think of one word you've heard recently in media or conversation that seemed vague or slippery. Write down what it really points to. Clarify its identity. The law of identity may be the simplest, but it is the anchor. Without it, every other law falls apart. Once you hold on to it, contradictions become easier to spot, and clarity begins to form. Chapter 2. The Law of Non-Contradiction. If the first law says, a thing is itself, the second law says, a thing cannot be itself and its opposite at the same time and in the same way. In short, a not a. What it means? Two opposite claims cannot both be true in the same context. A door cannot be both fully open and fully closed at the same time. Water cannot be both boiling and frozen at the same temperature. A number cannot be both even and odd at once. This is the law of non-contradiction. If you allow contradictions into your reasoning, your thinking breaks apart. Why it matters. Contradiction is the quickest signal that something is wrong. It tells you that either 1. The definition was unclear. 2. The statement was false. 3. Or the system being described is broken. When contradictions are allowed, people can say anything and justify anything. That is why this law must be held firm. Everyday examples. Directions. If someone says, turn left and right at the same time, you know the instructions are useless. Promises. I'll be there and not be there. The promise cancels itself. Rules. A rule that says everyone must obey, except those who don't, isn't a rule at all. Common violations. 1. Double speak. Language designed to carry two opposite meanings. Example. We are cutting spending by increasing the budget. 2. Paradoxical labels. Terms that fold in on themselves. Example. This law gives you freedom by restricting you. 3. Ambiguity tricks. Shifting the meaning of words mid-sentence. Example. All natural things are good. Poison is natural. Therefore, poison is good. How to apply it. When you hear a claim, ask, is it contradicting itself? Are two opposite states being claimed at once? If so, which part survives reality, and which part must be rejected? Contradiction is not mystery, it is error. When you see it, you have found the weak point in the argument. Drills. 1. Spot the contradiction. This medicine is both safe and unsafe. I never lie, except when I do. We respect all opinions, except those we disagree with. 2. Repair the statement. Fix the contradictions. The store is always open and sometimes closed. This food is both healthy and harmful. 3. Real-life practice. Listen to a news headline or advertisement today. Write down any statement that contains a contradiction, even if it is hidden in fancy words. Contradiction is the crack in the wall. Once you train your mind to spot it, you will see it everywhere. And once you see it, the illusion that words alone can make something true begins to fall apart. Chapter 3. The Law of the Excluded Middle. The first two laws taught us. 1. A thing is itself. 2. A thing cannot be itself and its opposite at the same time. Now comes the third. For any clear statement, it must be either true or false. There is no third option. This is called the law of the excluded middle. What it means? Every precise statement has only two possibilities. It is either true or it is not true. The light is on. It's either on or not on. Water is wet. Either true or false. 2 plus 2 equals 4. True. It cannot also be sort of true. This law doesn't mean that everything is simple. It means that every clear claim must fall into one of two categories, true or false. Why it matters. The excluded middle matters because vagueness is a common trick. If people can smuggle in a gray zone, where a claim is neither true nor false. They can avoid responsibility, escape clarity, and persuade by confusion. Example: a politician might say, the economy is strong and fragile at the same time. A company might say, this product is safe when used as intended, but may not be safe in some cases. These statements try to live in the middle ground, but the middle is an illusion. Once clarified, every claim resolves into true or false. Everyday examples: weather. It is raining. Either it is or it isn't. Sports. The team won. Either they did or they did not. Money. The account has $100. The number is either there or it is not. Common violations. One hazy language. Kind of. Maybe. Sort of. Example: this is sort of true. No, clarify it. Two false balance. Presenting two sides as equally valid when one is false. Example: the earth is round, but some say it's flat, so let's call it undecided. Three, ambiguity as escape. Leaving a claim unclear so it can't be tested. Example: this policy is working in its own way. How to apply it. When you hear a statement, ask, is it a clear claim? If yes, it is either true or false. No third option. If no, clarify the claim until it can be tested. Drills. One binary sort. The sky is blue. True or false? 2 plus 2 equal 5. True or false? This chair exists. True or false? To break the fog. Rewrite these vague statements as testable ones. He is kind of honest. The project is somewhat complete. The food is pretty safe. 3, real-life practice. Take a statement you hear today. If it sounds fuzzy, force it into true/false form. Write it down cleanly. The law of the excluded middle is a weapon against vagueness. It refuses to let false clarity hide in maybe. If a claim cannot be tested as true or false, it is not a claim at all. It is noise. Chapter 4. The law of causality. So far we've learned: 1. A thing is itself. 2. A thing cannot be itself and its opposite. 3. Every clear claim is either true or false. Now comes the fourth pillar. Every effect has a cause. Nothing happens without something making it happen. This is the law of causality. What it means: events do not just appear out of nowhere. A ball moves because it was pushed. A tree grows because it receives water, light, and nutrients. A sound occurs because something vibrated. Every effect, every change we observe, is the result of some cause. Why it matters. Without causality, reasoning collapses. If things just happen, no prediction or decision can be trusted. Logic is possible because reality is structured by cause and effect. Causality lets us understand what already happened, predict what will happen next, control outcomes by adjusting inputs. Example: if you know overeating causes fatigue, you can predict the result of your choices. If you know that striking a match causes fire, you can control fire by deciding when to strike it. Everyday examples: health. Exercise leads to strength. Neglect leads to weakness. Finance. Saving causes growth of wealth. Debt causes obligation. Learning. Practice causes improvement. Neglect causes decline. Common violations. 1. Magic thinking. Believing effects happen without causes. Example: it just appeared. 2. Correlation error. Mistaking coincidence for cause. Example: every time I carry my lucky coin, the sun shines. 3. Reverse cause. Confusing effect for cause. Example: he is confident because people respect him, when the reverse may be true. People respect him because he is confident. How to apply it. When you see an event, ask, what caused this? Is the cause direct or indirect? Could there be multiple causes? When you hear a claim, test whether the supposed cause actually produces the effect, or whether it's coincidence, assumption, or reverse relationship. Drills. One cause and effect. Effect. The glass broke. Possible cause. Effect. The plant wilted. Possible cause. Effect. The computer shut down. Possible cause. To spot the error. I sneezed because the lights turned on. He failed the test because the pencil was red. Prices rise because time passes. 3. Real-life practice. Think of something that happened to you today. Trace back the chain of causes. Did you stop at the first cause? Or dig deeper? The law of causality teaches us that nothing is random. Every change comes from something. Once you train your mind to trace causes, you begin to see patterns that others miss, and you gain power to act with clarity. Chapter 5. Consistency and recursion. The first 4 laws gave us anchors: identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle, and causality. Now comes the principle that ties them together over time. A true rule must work the same way every time under the same conditions. This is the principle of consistency and recursion. What it means: if something is true once, it must be true every time the same conditions occur. If a rule gives different answers under the same inputs, it is not a rule, it is noise. Example: 2 plus 2 equal 4. Not 4 sometimes, 5 other times. If dropping an object causes it to fall, it must fall each time, not just on Tuesdays. If a law applies to one citizen, it applies equally to another under the same circumstances. Why it matters: without consistency, knowledge collapses. Science depends on experiments giving the same results when repeated. Math depends on equations working the same way every time. Trust depends on people keeping their word consistently, not randomly. Consistency is also how we test truth. If a claim fails when repeated, the claim is false. Everyday examples: cooking. A recipe that works once but fails every other time is not reliable. Technology. A phone that turns on one day but not the next is broken. Promises. A person who is trustworthy only sometimes is not trustworthy at all. Common violations. One selective application. A rule enforced for some but ignored for others. Example: the rule applies equally to all, except when it doesn't. 2 shifting definitions. A word means one thing in one moment and another in the next. Example: we define success differently today. 3 random enforcement. Systems applied inconsistently, producing chaos. Example: a referee who calls a foul one time but ignores the same foul later. How to apply it. When you test an idea or rule, ask: does it work the same way every time? Ask: are the inputs the same, and do they lead to the same outputs? Ask: is someone shifting definitions to make inconsistency look acceptable? Consistency reveals whether a system is built on truth or convenience. Drills. 1. Spot the consistent rule. Whenever I flip this switch, the light comes on. Sometimes 2 plus 2 equal 4, and sometimes it equals 5. If you water plants, they grow. 2. Repair the inconsistency. All people must wait in line, except my friends. This law applies equally to everyone, but not today. 3. Real-life practice. Think of a rule or promise you rely on. Has it been consistent every time? If not, was it a true rule or just someone's preference? Consistency and recursion remind us that truth is stable. It does not shift with mood, power, or circumstance. If something is only true sometimes, it is not truth. It is a trick. Great. Let's carry forward into the 6th foundation principle. Here's Chapter 6. The law of entropy in full teaching mode. Chapter 6. The law of entropy. The universe has a direction, from order to disorder. This is captured in the 6th law of logic for systems. Every closed system tends toward disorder unless new energy is added. This is the law of entropy. What it means: entropy is the principle that things left alone break down. A clean room becomes messy if no one maintains it. A machine wears out if not repaired. A body weakens without nourishment and exercise. Order requires input. Without it, systems collapse into disorder. Why it matters. Entropy teaches us that nothing stays in place by itself. Stability is an illusion unless energy is constantly invested. In nature, ecosystems collapse if resources are removed. In finance, money loses value if not preserved with discipline. In relationships, trust decays without care and consistency. If you see something running down, the cause is not mystery, it is entropy. Everyday examples. Household. Dust gathers even if you do nothing. Technology. Batteries drain whether you use them or not. Health. Muscles shrink without exercise. Common violations. One perpetual motion fantasy. Believing a system will run forever without input. Example. This machine requires no fuel and never breaks down. 2. Ignoring maintenance. Assuming something will stay stable if neglected. Example. This friendship doesn't need effort. It will last anyway. 3. Infinite growth illusion. Thinking systems can expand without cost. Example. The economy can grow endlessly with no limits. How to apply it. When you look at a system, physical, financial, or social, ask, what energy is keeping this running? What happens when that input stops? Is this being maintained, or is it decaying? Entropy is not pessimism, it is realism. Systems need energy to survive. Drills. 1. Identify entropy. A car rusts if left outside. Cause? Food spoils in the fridge if never eaten. Cause? Savings shrink over time due to inflation. Cause? 2. Reverse entropy. What inputs reverse these? Dust in a room? Rust on a car? Weak muscles? 3. Real-life practice. Choose one area of your life: home, health, work. Where is entropy showing up? What energy input could slow or reverse it? The law of entropy teaches that nothing holds its shape without effort. Energy must flow in, or disorder takes over. Recognizing this is the first step toward building systems that endure. Chapter 7. False authority rejection. The next principle protects you from one of the oldest tricks in the book. A claim is not true because someone powerful says it. This is the principle of false authority rejection. What it means: truth does not bend for titles, uniforms, wealth, or prestige. A statement is true or false no matter who speaks it. An expert can be right or wrong. A ruler can be right or wrong. Reality does not change when someone important makes a declaration. Why it matters. Humans are social. We are trained from childhood to trust those above us: parents, teachers, leaders, experts. But if that trust replaces logic, we are vulnerable to being led into error. History is filled with experts who declared falsehoods as truth. Science once taught that the sun orbited the earth. Authority enforced it, but observation proved otherwise. Medicine once promoted harmful practices as cures because authority approved them. Every time, it was reality that won, not rank. Everyday examples. Workplace. A boss can declare, "This system never fails." If it fails, the statement is false, regardless of authority. School. A teacher may say, "This method always works." If it does not, reality, not rank, decides. Life. A friend may insist, "I know for certain." Certainty does not equal truth. Common violations. 1. Appeal to authority. Claiming something is true because an expert says so. Example. It must be correct. The professor said it. 2. Appeal to popularity. Believing something is true because many people say it. Example. Everyone believes this, so it must be right. 3. Appeal to power. Accepting something is true because it is enforced. Example. The rule says it, so it must be real. How to apply it. When you hear a claim, ask, is it being presented with evidence or just with authority? Would the statement stand if spoken by a stranger with no title? Does it survive testing observation, repeatability, non-contradiction, or only rely on prestige? Truth stands on its own. Authority can help point us to knowledge, but it cannot make a falsehood true. Drills. One spot, the false authority. This medicine works. The celebrity says so. The policy is good. The government approved it. The claim is valid. The expert signed it. To reframe without authority. Strip the title away. Ask, what evidence remains? Example, the scientist says it works. What test shows it works? 3 real-life practice. Think of one recent statement you accepted because of who said it. Would you believe it if the same words came from someone without a title? The principle of false authority rejection teaches independence. Respect people, but test their claims. Authority may guide, but reality decides. Chapter 8. The 3-part test protocol. We've learned to spot identity, contradiction, false authority, and entropy. Now we put it together into a simple filter. For a claim to be true, it must pass 3 tests. 1 observable. Can it be seen, measured, or detected? 2 repeatable. Does it happen again under the same conditions? 3 non-contradictory. Does it align with the other truths we know? If it fails any of the 3, it does not qualify as truth. What it means. This protocol is your firewall against confusion. Observable. If no one can observe it, it is belief, not logic. Repeatable. If it only works once, it's luck, not structure. Non-contradictory. If it collides with other truths, something is wrong. Together, these 3 create a universal filter for testing claims. Why it matters. Without a test, any statement can be passed off as truth. People can claim anything. The test protocol forces clarity. Example. Claim, this medicine cures headaches. Observable. Did it stop the headache? Repeatable. Does it stop headaches in others, not just once? Non-contradictory. Does it contradict other verified medical facts? If it fails, it isn't truth. It may be hope, belief, or advertising, but not truth. Everyday examples. Cooking. A recipe that works every time equal true recipe. Science. A theory tested repeatedly and confirmed equal reliable knowledge. Life. This shortcut saves time. Test it. Does it save time again and again? Common violations. One-time wonders. Something happens once and is declared always true. Example. I wore lucky socks and won. Therefore, lucky socks cause winning. 2 unobservable claims. Ideas presented with no way to test. Example. It works, but you can't measure it. 3 contradictory beliefs. Accepting something that directly conflicts with tested truth. Example. Gravity exists, but sometimes objects just float. How to apply it. When you hear a claim. Step 1. Can I observe it? Step 2. Does it repeat? Step 3. Does it contradict verified truths? Only when it passes all 3 is it safe to accept as reliable. Drills. 1. Test the claim. Claim. Coffee keeps you awake. Observable? Yes. Alertness changes. Repeatable? Yes. Tested many times. Non-contradictory? Yes. Matches biology. Pass. Claim. This rock brings good luck. Observable? No clear measurement. Repeatable? No consistent effect. Non-contradictory? Conflicts with cause-effect. Fail. To filter these. Exercise improves health. The stars control your destiny. If you eat food, you will feel full. 3 real-life practice. Take 1 claim from an ad, article, or conversation today. Run it through the 3 tests. Write down where it passes or fails. The 3-part test protocol makes truth measurable. It is the universal filter for claims. Use it daily, and you will find that most confusion clears itself. Chapter 9. Loop and paradox detection. Some statements collapse under their own weight. They cancel themselves out. These are paradoxes, loops that reveal error. The rule is simple. If a statement refutes itself, it cannot be true. What it means. A paradox is a claim that, if accepted, destroys itself. This statement is false. If true, it is false. If false, it is true. Loop. There is no truth. If true, then that itself is a truth, which proves it wrong. You cannot know anything. If you know that, then you already know something. Paradox is not mystery. It is failure. Why it matters. Paradoxes look clever, but they are signals of broken reasoning. If you accept paradox as truth, you are left with nothing solid. Learning to detect paradox protects you from endless circular arguments, language tricks, and fake deep claims that collapse on inspection. Everyday examples. Workplace. We encourage creativity, but only the kind we already approve. School. Critical thinking means agreeing with the teacher. Life. You are free to do anything, as long as it's what I allow. Each looks like a claim, but each cancels itself. Common violations. One self-refuting absolutes. Statements that declare themselves impossible. Example. Nothing is absolute. That's an absolute claim. Two circular definitions. Words defined only by themselves. Example. Fairness means being fair. Three contradictory rules. Systems that enforce and deny the same rule. Example. All rules must be followed, except this one. How to apply it. When you hear a statement, test it against itself. Ask, if this is true, does it cancel itself? If yes, discard. It is not profound. It is broken. Drills. One, spot the paradox. You should never be certain of anything. Everything is relative. I cannot speak a word of English. 2, fix the loop. Rewrite self-refuting statements into ones that make sense. There is no truth. There are some things we don't yet know. You can't know anything. Knowledge is difficult and requires testing. 3, real-life practice. Find one deep or clever quote you've seen online. Test it for paradox. Does it survive or collapse? Paradox is not wisdom. It is a dead end. Once you can spot loops, you will never mistake broken claims for deep insight. Chapter 10. Immutable constants. So far, we've built a toolkit of laws. Identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle, causality, consistency, entropy, rejection of false authority, the three-part test, and paradox detection. Now we arrive at the anchor that ties them all together. If a claim survives contradiction, recursion, and consequence, it is not opinion. It is structure. These are immutable constants. What it means. Most ideas are beliefs, assumptions, or theories. They can shift, collapse, or change with time. But some truths survive every test. They are constant. Examples. Two contradictory claims cannot both be true. Energy is required to maintain order. Language must have meaning to communicate. These are not theories. They are unchanging principles. Why it matters. Constants are the bedrock of knowledge. Without them, every conversation becomes a swirl of opinion. Math works because 2 plus 2 always equals 4. Physics works because energy and matter obey unbreakable rules. Logic works because contradiction always fails. Constants are the ultimate firewall. If someone asks you to reject them, they are asking you to reject reality. Everyday examples. Math. A triangle has 3 sides. Always true. Nature. Fire burns. Always true. Life. You cannot both keep money and spend it. Always true. Common violations. One consensus mistaken for constants. Example. Everyone agrees. Therefore, it is true. 2 temporary trends posed as constants. Example. This technology will last forever. 3 belief treated as immutable. Example. Because I feel it strongly, it must be true. How to apply it. When testing a claim, ask, does it collapse into contradiction? Does it fail when repeated? Does it break under consequence? If it survives all three, you may treat it as a constant. If it fails any, discard it. Drills. 1. Identify constants. A straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points. Objects fall toward the ground when dropped. Every living thing eventually dies. 2. Spot false constants. This system will never fail. Everyone thinks this is true, so it must be constant. Fashion always stays the same. 3. Real-life practice. Choose a belief you hold strongly. Run it through the constant test. Does it survive contradiction, recursion, and consequence? If not, downgrade it from constant to belief. Constants are rare, but they are priceless. They are the cornerstones of clarity, the truths that cannot be erased by time, opinion, or power. With them, your reasoning rests on solid ground. Without them, you are always at risk of drift. With Chapter 10, you now hold the core logic set, the 10 unshakable laws that form the operating system of clear thought. Chapter 11, language precision. Logic begins with clear rules, but rules only work if the words we use are clear. If language is vague, logic collapses. That is why precision in language is the first application of operational logic. What it means: words are containers. If the container is cracked or shifting, the meaning leaks out. Law must mean law, not suggestion. Free must mean free, not half free with hidden strings. Safe must mean safe, not mostly safe. When words shift, reasoning is sabotaged. Why it matters: if you allow vague or slippery words into your reasoning, every conclusion becomes unstable. Precision is the anchor. In debate, without precise words, two people may argue endlessly while actually talking about different things. In contracts, a single vague term can change the entire meaning. In daily life, misunderstandings often come not from intent, but from unclear language. Everyday examples: health, low fat, low compared to what? Finance, free trial, free until the charge begins. Work, flexible deadline, does it move or not? Common violations: 1. Equivocation, using one word with two meanings. Example: all banks are safe. Rivers have banks. Therefore, rivers are safe. 2. Rebranding, changing a label while the thing remains the same. Example: it's not a fee, it's a contribution. 3. Blurred boundaries, words stretched until they cover opposites. Example: this rule is strict but flexible. How to apply it: when you hear a word, ask, what exactly does this word mean? Is the meaning shifting during the conversation? Could two people in the room have two different definitions? If the definition is unstable, stop, clarify before continuing. Drills: 1. Tighten the word. Vague, it's kind of safe. Precise, it meets safety standards X, Y, and Z. Vague, the project is almost done. Precise, the project is 90% complete. 2. Spot the slippery word. This policy is fair. Ask, how is fair defined? We promise transparency. Ask, what exactly will be shown? 3. Real-life practice. Write down 3 words you heard today that felt vague. Define them precisely. Language precision is the bridge between thought and reality. Without it, logic is impossible. With it, you gain clarity not only in your own thinking, but in every conversation you enter. Chapter 12, logic versus narrative. Logic is structure. Narrative is story. Both have power, but they serve different masters. Logic tests reality. Narrative persuades people. A story can inspire, entertain, or guide. But when story overrides structure, truth gets lost. This chapter teaches you to separate what sounds good from what holds up under logic. What it means: logic asks, is this true? Does it survive contradiction, test, and consequence? Narrative asks, does this sound good? Does it persuade or move the audience? A story can carry truth, but it can also carry falsehood dressed in emotion. Why it matters. Humans are wired for story. From childhood, we learn through tales, myths, and examples. That makes us vulnerable. A moving story can override reason. A catchy slogan can bypass testing. A narrative can make the false feel true simply because it is repeated. This is why logic must come first. Everyday examples. Advertising. This car makes you free. Freedom is a story. The car is just a machine. Workplace. We're a family here. Family is a story. The job is still a contract. Personal life. If it feels right, it must be true. Feeling is a story. Reality requires test. Common violations. One appeal to emotion. Story used instead of structure. Example. If you cared, you would agree with me. Two bandwagon narrative. Everyone says this, so it must be true. Example. Popularity used in place of logic. Three fear or hope hooks. Claims sold on promise or threat. Example. If you don't do this, disaster will come. How to apply it. When you hear a story. Step 1. Enjoy it as story. Step 2. Ask. What is the actual claim inside the story? Step 3. Run that claim through the logic filter. Observable, repeatable, non-contradictory. If it passes truth wrapped in story. If it fails, story without structure. Drills. One separate story from claim. Story. This drink makes you adventurous. Claim. This drink tastes good. Which is testable? Story. We fight for freedom. Claim. We changed this law. Which is testable? To spot the persuasion trick. Everyone is switching to this product. Bandwagon. If you don't buy now, you'll regret it forever. Fear hook. 3 real life practice. Take one advertisement, speech, or social media post you see today. Write down the story. Then extract the testable claim. Logic versus narrative is not about rejecting stories. Stories are powerful, and they can carry truth. But logic is the referee. Without it, narrative controls you instead of informing you. Chapter 13. Decision Protocols. Logic is not only for analyzing claims. It is for guiding choices. Every decision, big or small, can be improved by running it through a clear protocol. This chapter gives you a step-by-step method, a checklist that prevents error and sharpens judgment. The decision protocol. 1. Define the question. What decision are you really making? Strip away noise. Example. Do I want this job? Not. What if my cousin disapproves? 2. Identify inputs. What facts are known? What variables are involved? Write them clearly. Example. Salary, commute, role expectations. 3. Filter with logic. Does each claim survive the 3-part test? Observable, repeatable, non-contradictory? 4. Check for contradictions. Are you believing 2 opposite things at once? Example. I want more free time, but I'll take the role that consumes all my time. 5. Run simulations. Imagine outcomes if you choose A, then B. Which outcome holds under causality and consistency? 6. Discard paradoxes. If a reason cancels itself, eliminate it. Example. I'll save money by spending more money. 7. Anchor inconstance. Does the decision violate an immutable principle? Example. You cannot keep all your money and also spend it. Choose. Why it matters. Without a protocol, decisions are ruled by impulse or emotion. With a protocol, decisions are structured and repeatable. In personal life, it prevents regret. In work, it prevents wasted effort. In study, it builds the habit of clarity. Everyday examples. Buying. Should I purchase this product? Inputs. Cost. Need. Durability. Run through steps. Studying. Should I learn this skill? Inputs. Time. Usefulness. Fit. Filter contradictions. Health. Should I skip exercise today? Input, health goal. Simulation, one skip versus repeated skips. Common errors, one decision drift. Answering the wrong question. Example, choosing a job for appearance, not for fit. Two emotional override. Letting fear or excitement replace logic. Example, buying because of hype. Three, ignoring constants. Pretending immutable laws don't apply. Example, hoping to cheat time by overloading schedule. Drills. One, apply the protocol. Decision, should I buy a new phone? Define question, need or want? Inputs, price, features, budget. Filter, is need real or rebranded want? Simulation, buy now versus wait. Anchor, spending reduces savings. Constant, to spot the error. I'll save money by upgrading now. Contradiction, I'll be less busy by adding more projects. Contradiction, 3, real life practice. Take a decision you face this week. Write it down. Run it step by step. Notice where clarity appears. Decision protocols turn logic into action. They give structure to choices, protect against regret, and train the habit of clarity in everyday life. Chapter 14, Error Handling. No system runs perfectly. Even with clear laws and protocols, mistakes happen. The strength of a thinker is not in never erring, but in catching errors quickly and correcting them. This chapter teaches you how to detect, classify, and reset errors in reasoning before they grow into bigger failures. What it means, error handling is the practice of asking, where did the reasoning break? Which law of logic was violated? How can the error be corrected? Just as computers use error checks to keep systems running, clear thinking requires error detection and reset. Types of errors. 1, definition drift, using a word inconsistently. Example, calling something safe in one sense, safe enough in another. 2, contradiction blindness, accepting two opposite claims. Example, I value honesty, and it's fine if I lie sometimes. 3, causality confusion, mistaking correlation for cause, or reversing cause and effect. Example, every time I carry an umbrella, it rains, therefore the umbrella causes rain. 4, false authority dependence, accepting a claim because of who said it. Example, it must be true, the expert wrote it. 5, emotional override, replacing testable truth with feelings. Example, I want it to be true, therefore it is. Error handling protocol. 1, stop the loop. When confusion appears, pause. Don't push forward. 2, trace back. Identify the step where the error entered. Which law was violated? Identity. Consistency. 3, re-anchor. Reapply constants. Ask, what is unshakably true here? 4, reset the frame. Restate the problem with precise definitions. Remove the contradiction. Everyday examples. Conversation. You catch yourself arguing with someone, but realize you are using 2 different definitions of the same word. Reset by defining terms. Workplace. A project plan assumes 2 conflicting deadlines. Catch it early. Reset expectations. Personal life. You tell yourself you don't have time, yet you spend hours distracted. Contradiction detected, reset priorities. Drills. 1, identify the error type. All rules must be followed, except when I say so. Contradiction. I failed the test because I wore the wrong shoes. False causality. Everyone believes it, so it must be true. False authority. To correct the error, the product is safe. Mostly. Clarified definition of safe. I'll save time by doing more things at once. Reset. Multitasking often costs time. 3, real life practice. Catch yourself in one sloppy thought today. Trace it. Reset it. Note how clarity returns. Why it matters. Error handling keeps your reasoning resilient. Without it, small cracks grow into collapses. With it, Mistakes become opportunities to strengthen thinking. Errors are not failures. They are signals. Learn to hear them, and you transform confusion into clarity. Chapter 15. Applied Logic. You now hold the full toolkit, the 10 core laws, the 3 application pillars: language, narrative, decision making, and error handling. This chapter shows how to bring them together into everyday practice. Logic is not an abstract subject, it is a tool for living. What it means. Applied logic means taking the principles out of the book and using them in real systems. Science. Designing experiments and rejecting untested claims. Mathematics. Using consistency and constants to build reliable proofs. Design and engineering. Ensuring structures hold under recursion and causality. Daily life. Making choices, solving problems, and clearing confusion with structure. Logic is not about winning arguments. It is about making decisions that work in reality. Why it matters. Without application, logic stays theory. Application turns clarity into skill. A student who applies logic learns faster and avoids wasted effort. A worker who applies logic avoids errors and produces reliable results. A person who applies logic in life avoids confusion and lives with clarity. Everyday examples. One science example. Hypothesis. This plant grows faster with more light. Test. Observable measure growth. Repeatable test many plants. Non-contradictory aligns with biology. 2 math example. Equation. 2 plus 2 equal 4. Immutable constant. If it changed, every calculation in engineering, finance, and physics would collapse. 3 design example. Bridge construction. Must obey causality, consistency, and entropy. If ignored, failure is guaranteed. 4 life example. Decision. Should I buy this? Identity. What exactly is it? Causality. What effect will it have? Consistency. Will it serve me every time? Entropy. Will it decay faster than I can maintain? Common violations. 1 science drift. Claims announced without passing the test protocol. 2 math misuse. Numbers twisted to persuade instead of reveal. 3 design shortcut. Ignoring entropy and consistency to save time. 4 life fog. Acting on feeling without clarity. How to apply it. When faced with a problem. 1 clarify the identity of the issue. 2 test for contradiction. 3 ask, true or false. 4 trace causes. 5 check consistency. 6 factor entropy. 7 reject false authority. 8 run the test protocol. 9 spot paradoxes. 10 anchor constants. This is your checklist for reality. Drills. 1 case study drill. Scenario. You are told a new diet works. Identity. What exactly is claimed? Contradiction. Does it violate known biology? Test. Observable? Repeatable? Constant. Does it align with immutable truths? 2 life drill. Scenario. You are offered a risk-free investment. Spot the contradiction. Trace the cause effect. Check for entropy, what happens over time. 3 real-life practice. Choose 1 real decision you face this week. Run it through the 10 laws in sequence. Write down what changes when you do. Closing of part 2. Applied logic is not about knowing the rules. It is about living them. The more you use them, the sharper they become. With this, you now have the full operational toolkit. 10 core laws. 5 applied skills: language, narrative, decisions, error handling, applied practice. Chapter 16. Thinking in layers. Logic isn't just a set of rules. It's a way of stacking thought. Clear thinkers move in layers, from surface observation, down into structure, and back up into action. This chapter teaches you how to think in layers so you can handle complexity without getting lost. What it means. Layered thinking is the practice of moving between 3 levels. 1 surface layer. What is observed directly? Example. The glass broke. 2 structure layer, the rules behind observation. Example, the glass broke because force exceeded strength. 3 application layer, what to do with the knowledge. Example, to prevent breaking, handle carefully or use stronger material. By moving across these layers, you see not just what happened, but why it happened and what to do next. Why it matters. Without layered thinking, you get stuck at the surface, overwhelmed by details, or you get lost in theory, unable to act. With layers, you connect facts to principles. You connect principles to decisions. You can zoom in and out like a map. Everyday examples. Cooking. Surface. The food is burnt. Structure. Heat applied too long. Application. Lower the temperature or shorten cooking time. Workplace. Surface. The project failed. Structure. Deadlines and resources were mismatched. Application. Adjust planning for next project. Health. Surface. I feel tired. Structure. Lack of sleep or nutrition. Application. Adjust schedule or diet. Common violations. 1 surface traps. Staying only at observation. It broke, but no thought on why. 2 theory loops. Staying only in abstract rules. Entropy explains it, but no plan to act. 3 application without structure. Acting without reasoning. Try this random fix. Without understanding cause. How to apply it. Whenever you face a problem, move consciously. 1. State the surface fact. 2. Identify the structure rule. 3. Plan the application action. Repeat until it becomes habit. Drills. 1 layer drill. Surface, the room is cold. Structure, heat loss greater than heat input. Application, add insulation or increase heat source. Surface, the car won't start. Structure, energy not reaching ignition. Application, check battery or fuel. To spot the missing layer, the computer crashed. Surface only, add structure and application. Entropy explains it. Structure only, add surface and application. 3 real-life practice. Take 1 problem today. Write it in 3 layers. Notice how solutions appear when you complete the stack. Layered thinking is how you scale logic. It prevents you from drowning in details or drifting in theory. It gives you a framework to navigate complexity with clarity. Chapter 17. Building habits. Knowing logic is one thing. Using it every day is another. Clear thinking becomes powerful only when it becomes habit. This chapter teaches you how to train logic into automatic routines, the same way athletes train movements or musicians train scales. What it means. A habit is a repeated action that becomes second nature. Brushing your teeth daily takes no effort once it's routine. Checking your seatbelt before driving happens automatically. In the same way, checking for contradictions or clarifying definitions can become reflex. The goal is to make logic not an extra task, but your default mode of thought. Why it matters. Without habit, logic is fragile. It appears only when you stop and concentrate. With habit, logic is durable. It runs in the background, catching errors automatically. Habits make clarity easier than confusion. Everyday examples. Language habit. Always ask, what does that word mean? Before accepting it. Causality habit. Always ask, what caused this? Instead of accepting randomness. Consistency habit. Always test. Would this still be true tomorrow? Building logic habits. Pick one law at a time. Start with identity. As A. Practice spotting rebranding tricks. Once natural, move to contradiction. Practice catching doublespeak. 2. Use daily drills. Choose 1 news article, ad, or conversation per day. Run it through the filter. 3. Anchor to triggers. Attach logic checks to daily routines. When reading, test for contradiction. When deciding, run the 3-part filter. 4. Track progress. Keep a small log. Note where you spotted errors, contradictions, or vagueness. Over time, Your detection rate improves. Common obstacles. 1. Forgetting. You slip back into autopilot. Solution. Tie logic to routines, e.g., meals, reading, conversations. 2. Overload. Trying to apply all laws at once. Solution. Focus on one until it becomes reflex. 3. Social pressure. People may not like precision. Solution. Use habits silently. Clarity does not need to be announced. Drills. 1 law focus. Today, focus only on contradictions. Write down one you spot. Tomorrow, focus only on vague words. Write down one you clarify. 2. Routine anchor. Every time you hear a number, price, statistic, percentage, ask, what is the exact identity of this number? 3. Real life practice. End your day by writing down one moment where you use logic automatically. Logic habits make structure part of your nature. Over time, they build a mind that automatically resists confusion and moves toward clarity. Chapter 18. Teaching others. Clarity grows stronger when it spreads. Logic is not just for your own mind. It is something you can pass on to others. This chapter shows how to teach logic without force, in a way that makes it simple, practical, and engaging for anyone. What it means. Teaching logic means explaining rules clearly, giving examples people can relate to, offering small, practical drills instead of lectures. The key is to show that logic is useful, not to win arguments. Why it matters. If logic is kept private, it helps one life. If logic is shared, it strengthens families, classrooms, workplaces, and communities. Teaching others sharpens your own understanding, creates shared language for clarity, protects groups from confusion and manipulation. Everyday examples. Parent to child. If bedtime is at 9 p.m., it cannot also be 10 p.m. Which is it? Non-contradiction. Teacher to student. This formula works because it gives the same answer every time. Consistency. Friend to friend. Let's check if that claim is observable, repeatable, and non-contradictory. Test protocol. Principles for teaching logic. 1. Keep it simple. Use short, clear rules. A thing is what it is. Avoid jargon. 2. Use examples. Connect logic to everyday life. Cooking, sports, decisions. 3. Make it active. Ask questions instead of giving lectures. Example. Can this statement be true and false at the same time? 4. Encourage practice. Small drills daily are more effective than long speeches. Common mistakes when teaching. 1. Preaching. Turning logic into lectures. Solution. Keep it interactive. 2. Forcing. Demanding agreement instead of offering clarity. Solution. Present logic as a tool, not a weapon. 3. Overloading. Trying to teach all laws at once. Solution. Focus on one law per lesson. Drills. 1 mini lesson. Teach someone the law of identity in 1 sentence. Give 1 example. Ask them to give 1 back. 2. Family drill. Next time a contradiction appears at home, you said yes earlier. Now you say no. Point it out gently. 3. Workplace drill. In a meeting, when words are vague, ask, can we define that term more precisely? Why it works. Teaching others does not mean controlling them. It means giving them the same firewall you now use. When logic is shared, everyone gains. Chapter 19. Logic and creativity. Some people fear that logic limits imagination. In truth, logic frees creativity by giving it structure. This chapter shows how clear rules provide the foundation on which innovation, art, and invention can flourish. What it means. Creativity is the ability to generate new ideas, images, or solutions. Logic is the framework that makes those ideas usable. Logic without creativity equals rigid, lifeless. Creativity without logic equals scattered, unstable. Together equal powerful and practical innovation. Why it matters. History's greatest breakthroughs came from the balance of structure and imagination. Science. Newton observed an apple fall creativity, questioned why and applied laws of causality and math logic. Art. Musicians use scales and rhythm logic to compose endless variations creativity. Technology. Engineers follow physics logic to invent bridges, rockets, and networks creativity. Logic is not the enemy of imagination. It is its amplifier. Everyday examples. Writing. Grammar logic provides clarity. Imagination fills the page. Cooking. Recipes logic set the base. Creativity invents variations. Problem solving. Structure defines the rules. Creativity finds new solutions within them. Common violations. One logic is cage. Believing rules prevent new ideas. Reality. Rules provide the frame for useful novelty. Two, creativity is chaos. Believing anything imagined is automatically valuable. Reality. Without testing, ideas collapse. Three, false divide. Treating logic and creativity as separate worlds. Reality. They are partners. How to apply it. Start with structure. Clarify the rules. Example. Materials and physics in design. Open to variation. Ask, within this frame, what new possibilities exist? Test with logic. Run creative ideas through the filters. Observable, repeatable, non-contradictory. Drills. One, structured creativity. Pick a simple system recipe. Poem. Exercise routine. Invent three variations, but keep them consistent with the rules of the system. Two, constraint as fuel. Give yourself one restriction, e.g., write a story in 100 words. Cook with only 3 ingredients. Notice how constraints focus creativity. 3, real-life practice. Take a challenge at work, school, or home. Ask, what are the unbreakable rules here? Within them, what creative options exist? Why it works? Creativity without boundaries scatters. Logic without imagination stalls. But together, they form the most powerful engine of human achievement. Chapter 20. The Logic Mindset. Logic is not just a subject. It is a way of living. A mindset shaped by logic is one that sees clearly, resists confusion, and moves with precision. This chapter shows what it means to live with a logic mindset. What it means. The logic mindset is not about arguing more. It is about living with clarity, seeing things as they are, not as labels or feelings suggest. Resilience, making choices that stand against error, contradiction, and confusion. Precision, choosing words, actions, and decisions carefully so they match reality. It is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. Why it matters. With a logic mindset, you are harder to deceive. You are quicker to recover from mistakes. You are steadier under pressure because you return to structure instead of emotion. Without it, you drift, tossed by narratives, noise, and contradictions. Everyday examples. At work, a problem arises. Instead of panicking, you break it into layers. What happened? Why it happened? What to do next? In conversation, someone makes a vague claim. Instead of arguing, you ask, what does that word mean? In life, faced with a decision, you pause and run the protocol. Inputs, contradictions, constants, common misunderstandings. One, logic mindset, equal cold or unfeeling. False. Clarity and empathy can coexist. Logic simply prevents error. 2, logic mindset equal always right. False. A logic thinker makes mistakes, but catches and corrects them faster. 3, logic mindset equal argumentative. False. Logic is not for winning debates. It is for living in alignment with truth. How to apply it. 1, daily drill. Spot one contradiction each day. Write it down. 2, decision pause. Before big choices, run the test protocol. 3, language guard. Whenever you hear a vague term, ask for precision. These small habits accumulate into a way of seeing. Over time, They become who you are. Drills. One mindset test. Think of a time you were misled. Which law of logic would have protected you? 2. Reframe with logic. Take a stressful thought. Rewrite it with precision and constance. 3. Real life practice. In your next conversation, try to spot one word that needs clarity. Ask for it gently. Notice how the discussion sharpens. Closing part 3. The logic mindset is the culmination of the course so far. Core laws 1 to 10 equal foundation. Applications 11 to 15 equal tools. Fluency 16 to 20 equal living it daily. With this, logic is no longer just knowledge. It is a way of thinking, speaking, and acting. Chapter 21. Challenge problems. You now know the laws, the applications, and the mindset. The next step is sharpening, pushing your logic through problems that stretch your skill. This chapter presents challenge problems designed to test all 10 laws together. What it means. Challenge problems combine multiple layers of logic: identity, contradiction, causality, consistency, entropy, and more. They are not puzzles for entertainment alone. They are training, practice in spotting errors under pressure. Why it matters. The mind strengthens the same way the body does, through stress and recovery. When you practice with hard problems, you build reflexes that activate in daily life. Challenge set A. Contradictions. 1. All cats are animals. All animals are dogs. Therefore, all cats are dogs. Spot the error. 2. This law applies equally to everyone, except to those it does not apply to. Spot the contradiction. Challenge set B. Causality and consistency. Every time I wear red socks, my team wins. Therefore, the socks cause victory. What law is broken? 2. If exercise makes me tired, then exercise is bad for health. What step is missing in the cause-effect chain? Challenge set C. Language precision. 1. This policy is fair. Ask, what does fair mean? Is it defined or vague? 2. This new diet is natural, so it must be safe. Ask, is natural a stable identity or a vague label? Challenge set D. Paradox detection. 1. There is no such thing as truth. If that statement is true, is it itself a truth? 2. Everything is relative. Relative to what? Is that claim absolute? Challenge set E. Constants. 1. 2 plus 2 equal 4. Constant. Why? 2. Water always boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Is it constant everywhere or dependent on conditions? Pressure. Altitude. How to use these challenges. Do them slowly. Write answers out. Name the law being violated or applied. Correct the reasoning in precise words. Real life drill. Take one claim you hear this week from a news story, ad, or conversation. Run it through all 10 laws. Write down where it passes and where it fails. Challenge problems are your workout ground. The more you practice, the sharper your detection becomes. Soon, you will spot errors instantly, even in fast conversations. Chapter 22. Case studies. Now that you've worked through challenge problems, it's time to apply logic to real-world situations. This chapter presents case studies where we walk step by step through the laws, showing how clarity emerges. Case study 1. Health claim. Statement. This miracle supplement cures fatigue instantly. Identity. What is the supplement exactly? Ingredients. Dosage. Contradiction. Can something be both natural and safe if its effects are unknown? Test protocol. Is the claim observable, repeatable, non-contradictory? Causality. What mechanism explains the effect? Constant check. Nothing works without input. Does the claim violate this? Result. Without evidence, it fails the test protocol. Narrative without structure. Case study 2. Workplace rule. Statement. We encourage innovation, but you must follow every rule exactly. Identity. What is meant by innovation? Contradiction. Innovation cannot exist if rules forbid deviation. Consistency. Do similar cases receive the same enforcement? Paradox detection. The rule cancels itself. Innovate, but don't innovate. Result. Paradox. Must be rewritten or discarded. Case study 3. News headline. Statement. Study shows coffee both increases and decreases health risks. Identity. What risk? Defined clearly. Contradiction. How can it increase and decrease at the same time? Causality. Are the causes separated short-term versus long-term effects? Entropy. Does the study ignore decay or lifestyle inputs? Result. Likely vague language. Clarify specifics before accepting. Case study 4. Personal finance. Statement. You will save money by buying more. Identity. Buying equals spending, not saving. Contradiction. Cannot save by spending. Causality. Spending reduces savings. Discounts do not reverse this. Constant. You cannot keep money and spend it at the same time. Result. Contradiction. False claim. Case study 5. Relationship conversation. Statement. I trust you, but I don't believe what you say. Identity. Trust means belief in words and actions. Contradiction. Cannot trust and not trust at the same time. Paradox. Statement cancels itself. Repair. Possible truth. I trust you in general, but doubt this specific claim. Result. Needs precision. Logic turns confusion into clarity. How to use case studies. When facing any real-life claim. 1. State the claim clearly. 2. Run through the 10 laws. 3. Write down where it fails or holds. 4. Correct or clarify. This method turns chaos into structure in conversations, decisions, and daily life. Real-life drill. Pick one claim from today's news, an advertisement, or a conversation. Apply all 10 laws step by step. Write down your reasoning. Case studies show that logic isn't abstract. It is practical everywhere, all the time. 23. Chapter 23. Puzzles and paradoxes. Logic sharpens best when challenged by problems that look tricky, confusing, or impossible. This chapter presents puzzles and paradoxes, not just for fun, but for training your ability to spot errors, contradictions, or hidden assumptions. What it means. A puzzle tests your reasoning. A paradox looks unsolvable until you find the flaw. Together, they train the habit of asking, what is assumed here? Does it violate identity, contradiction, or causality? What hidden step resolves the confusion? Why it matters. Puzzles and paradoxes train the mind to stay calm under confusion, spot hidden assumptions, resist accepting nonsense just because it sounds clever. Classic logic puzzles. 1. The 2 doors. You stand before 2 doors. One leads to safety, one to danger. 2 guards stand watch. One always tells the truth, the other always lies. You can ask one question. What do you ask? Hint. If I ask the other guard which door leads to safety, which would he point to? Then choose the opposite. Skill trained. Contradiction and recursion. 2. The liar's paradox. This statement is false. If true, it's false. If false, it's true. Loop. Skill trained. Paradox detection. Discard self-refuting claims. 3. The ship of Theseus. If every plank of a ship is replaced, is it still the same ship? Trained by defining identity clearly. Is identity tied to material, form, or continuity? Skill trained. Language precision. Identity. 4. Zeno's paradox. To walk across a room, you must first cross half the distance, then half again, endlessly. Therefore, you can never arrive. Resolution. Infinite halves add up to a finite whole. Skill trained. Math structure. Causality. 5. The barber paradox in a town. The barber shaves everyone who does not shave themselves. Who shaves the barber? If he shaves himself, he should not. If he doesn't, he should. Contradiction. Skill trained. Paradox spotting. Discard self-contradictory rules. Everyday puzzles. This policy saves time by adding more steps. Spot contradiction. We must all be spontaneous. Self-canceling. I know nothing for certain. If certain, the claim collapses. Drills. 1. Paradox spotting. You should tolerate all views except the ones we disagree with. This statement is absolutely relative. Rules are meant to be broken, including this one. 2. Puzzle solving. Try the 2 doors puzzle. Can you explain why the trick works? Work through Zeno's paradox. What constant resolves it? 3. Real life practice. Catch 1 paradox in conversation or media this week. Write down the hidden assumption or contradiction that resolves it. Closing the chapter. Puzzles train precision. Paradoxes train resilience. Both prepare your mind to handle confusion without panic. Instead of being impressed by clever but broken statements, you will spot the error, resolve it, and move on with clarity. Chapter 24. Everyday logic. Logic is not only for puzzles, philosophy, or science. It is for ordinary life, the daily choices, conversations, and routines that shape who we are. This chapter shows how to apply the 10 core laws of logic to everyday living. What it means. Everyday logic means spotting contradictions in small things, clarifying vague words in casual talk, running quick test protocols on daily decisions. It turns clear thinking from a special exercise into an ongoing habit. Why it matters. Most confusion doesn't come from big theories. It comes from small, unnoticed slips, misused words, assumptions treated as facts, contradictions hidden in routine. By applying logic daily, you prevent those slips from compounding into larger errors. Everyday examples. 1. Shopping. Claim. Buy more. Save more. Law of non-contradiction. Spending is not saving. 2. Conversations. Statement. This is fair. Language precision. What exactly does fair mean here? 3. Planning. Statement. I'll do everything at once to save time. Causality plus consistency. Doing more simultaneously often increases error. 4. Health. Statement. I'll get stronger by never resting. Entropy. Systems need input and recovery. Common violations. 1. Vague words in daily talk. Soon. Safe. Fair. Cheap. 2. Contradictory promises. This will take no effort but change your life. 3. Ignoring constants. I'll spend my money and still have it. How to apply it. Many checks. Run small statements through identity and contradiction instantly. Daily decisions. For choices buying, scheduling, commitments. Run the 3-part test quickly. Conversations. Ask clarifying questions instead of assuming shared meaning. Drills. 1. Shopping drill. Next time you see a marketing slogan, test it with contradiction and constants. 2. Conversation drill. In your next talk, gently ask, what do you mean by that word? See how clarity sharpens. 3. Planning drill. When writing your daily to-do list, check for contradictions. Are you scheduling 2 tasks for the same time? Why it works. Everyday logic builds the bridge from theory to practice. When used daily, logic stops being study and becomes second nature, an automatic filter for clarity. Chapter 25. The Logic Checklist. You now have the full set of logic laws, applications, and habits. This chapter condenses everything into a 1-page checklist, a tool you can run any statement, claim, or decision through in minutes. Think of it as your pocket firewall for clarity. The Logic Checklist. When you face a claim, decision, or a problem, move step by step. 1. Identity. What exactly is being described? Is the word being used clearly and consistently? 2. Non-contradiction. Does it claim two opposites at the same time? 3. Excluded middle. Is it a clear true/false claim or hiding in vagueness? 4. Causality. What caused this? What effect will it have? 5. Consistency and recursion. Does the rule work the same way every time? 6. Entropy. Will this system decay without input? What energy is required? 7. False authority rejection. Is it presented as true because of power or rank instead of evidence? 8. Test protocol. Is it observable, repeatable, and non-contradictory? 9. Paradox detection. Does the claim cancel itself? 10. Constants. Does it survive all tests? If so, treat it as structure, not opinion. Why it matters. Life moves quickly. You can't always run through long analyses. This checklist gives you a fast, universal process. With practice, you'll run it in seconds. Everyday uses. News. Run headlines through the checklist before reacting. Workplace. Test new rules or policies. Shopping. Check slogans and offers. Decisions. Apply to choices big and small. How to practice it. 1 daily mini check. Take 1 claim each morning from news, ads, or conversation. Run it through the 10 steps. 2 weekly review. End your week by writing 1 page where you applied the checklist in real life. 3 silent application. Use the checklist in your head during fast conversations. Don't announce it. Just practice silently. Drills. 1 quick run. Claim. This food is healthy. Identity. Define healthy. Contradiction. Does it contain harmful elements? Test protocol. Observable, repeatable, non-contradictory. 2. Speed test. Take 3 claims in under 5 minutes. Run them fast through the list. 3. Real-life practice. Choose 1 big decision this month. Run the full checklist in writing before acting. Closing part 4. With the logic checklist, you now have a single reference tool that captures everything from the course. It is your firewall, your compass, and your quick start guide to clarity. Part V. Conclusion and transmission. You have completed the course. From here forward, logic is no longer just something you study. It is something you carry. Chapter 26. The big picture. Logic is the structure that underlies everything. Identity. Things are what they are. Contradiction. Opposites cannot both be true. Excluded middle. Every claim is true or false. Causality. Nothing happens without cause. Consistency. Real rules repeat. Entropy. Systems decay without input. Authority rejection. Power does not decide truth. Test protocol. Observable, repeatable, non-contradictory. Paradox detection. Self-canceling claims are false. Constants. What survives all tests becomes unshakable truth. Together, these form your operational system of thought. Chapter 27. Living logic. To live with logic is to speak clearly, think consistently, act with precision, resist confusion. You won't be perfect. Errors happen. But with logic as your compass, you will notice errors faster, reset sooner, and move with greater clarity than most. Chapter 28. Teaching logic forward. Logic multiplies when shared. In families, teach children that words mean what they mean. In schools, train students to test claims, not just memorize. In workplaces, encourage clarity over slogans. You don't need to preach. Just ask simple questions. What do you mean by that? Can that be both true and false? What caused this? These questions spread clarity like ripples in water. Chapter 29. The logic mindset for life. Living by logic is not about being cold, rigid, or argumentative. It is about protecting yourself from error, making decisions that last, building clarity into everything you touch. Logic gives you freedom from manipulation, resilience in confusion, and precision in action. Chapter 30. Transmission complete. This course began with simple laws. It ends with a complete operating system for clear thought. From here forward, you do not just know logic. You practice it. You live it. And you pass it on. Logic Academy is not just a book. It is a training ground. And now, the training is yours.